Welcome to the Restricted Handling Daily Intel Brief. Let's dig in. Here's what's been going on in Russia in the last 24 hours. Russia's reliance on China is front and center this week. Vladimir Putin visited Beijing to push forward on economic and energy cooperation, including the Power of Siberia-2 pipeline. Negotiations are still ongoing over pricing and timing, but the message is clear. Moscow is leaning heavily on Beijing to sustain both its economy and its war effort in Ukraine. Beyond the energy talks, Xi and Putin presented a united diplomatic front, calling for stability in the Middle East while criticizing U.S. nuclear and missile defense policies. This is Beijing and Moscow signaling that they plan to coordinate strategically across diplomacy, economics, and military planning for the long haul. There were also discussions about potential joint infrastructure and trade projects in Central Asia, underscoring a broader pattern of interdependence that gives China leverage over Russian strategic choices. Meanwhile, Russia continues to project strength closer to home. Nuclear exercises across Russia and Belarus are ongoing, with tens of thousands of personnel and a broad array of strategic assets involved. Recent updates show that tactical rehearsals in Belarus remain active, signaling Moscow's intent to maintain readiness and send a clear message to NATO. At the same time, these exercises highlight the contrast between Russia's ability to project nuclear capability and the constraints it faces in sustaining operations in Ukraine. Observers note that these exercises serve a dual purpose: reassuring domestic audiences of Russia's military strength while intimidating European capitals. NATO remains on high alert. Confirmed reports of Ukrainian drones straying into Estonian airspace prompted rapid responses, with Romanian F-16s intervening and Latvia lifting a temporary alert after verification. The Baltic states continue to reject Moscow's claims that Ukraine is using their territory for attacks, and allied coordination is helping prevent escalation. These developments show how NATO vigilance and regional coordination are mitigating risks amid ongoing Russian disinformation campaigns. Analysts are highlighting that the continued drone activity underscores both the effectiveness of Ukrainian tactics and the vulnerability of even small NATO airspaces, which could be exploited if Moscow escalates pressure. Ukraine continues to press Russia economically through its air operations. Recent drone strikes hit Russian energy infrastructure in the Stovo and Yaroslavl regions, causing fires and operational disruptions. These precision operations are creating financial strain and complicating Russia's logistics, highlighting how Ukraine's technological and operational edge is impacting Moscow's domestic and military calculations. Updates suggest that these actions are part of a larger, coordinated campaign targeting Russian supply lines and critical nodes, which could have cumulative effects on fuel distribution and military readiness over the coming months. On the economic front, Western measures are evolving. The UK issued a short-term waiver for diesel and jet fuel refined from Russian crude to stabilize domestic fuel supply amid Middle East disruptions. Critics note that this still provides some financial relief to Moscow, illustrating the delicate balance of maintaining pressure on Russia while protecting Western energy markets. The broader implications are significant, as European energy markets remain interconnected, and these moves are likely to influence decision-making in Berlin, Paris, and Brussels regarding sanctions strategy and support for Ukraine. Domestically, Russia continues to see political reshuffling in the State Duma, with potential leadership changes in the Defense Committee and the endorsement of Yana Lantratova as human rights ombudswoman. Ukrainian strikes on Black Sea oil infrastructure have sparked environmental concerns, while internal divisions among civil-military organizations, including Cossack groups, reveal fissures within Moscow-aligned structures. These social and political pressures are compounded by public scrutiny over the economic impacts of the war, highlighting that internal cohesion is increasingly a factor in Moscow's strategic planning. In Central Asia, Turkey is strengthening its engagement with Kazakhstan and other Turkic states, expanding trade corridors and political partnerships. Moscow is paying attention, but the moves indicate durable realignment that could gradually limit Russian influence in the region. Analysts note that this engagement could enhance Turkey's role as a regional power broker and open new avenues for economic and military partnerships outside Moscow's direct control. Diplomatically, Kyiv continues to solidify European support. The EU signed a memorandum of understanding for macro-financial assistance, potentially unlocking billions for military spending. Hungary and Ukraine are engaging in expert-level consultations on minority rights and EU accession. These developments complement Ukraine's operational successes and secure long-term support from its partners. Observers note that such diplomatic moves strengthen Kyiv's hand in negotiations and signal a more coordinated European approach to supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and post-war reconstruction efforts. On the battlefield, Ukraine is maintaining pressure with precision strikes that have strategic consequences without bogging down in numbers. They're leveraging advanced air defense systems, integrating AI and private sector support, and producing thousands of interceptor drones. Ground-based unmanned vehicles assist in evacuations, reducing personnel risk and demonstrating innovative approaches to modern warfare. These operations also serve as a model for integrating technology into broader military strategy, showing how innovation can offset material disparities. In Moscow, personnel appointments continue to favor political reliability over technical expertise, particularly in critical command and infrastructure protection roles. These gaps are being exploited by Ukraine, with precision operations targeting vulnerable logistics and energy assets. Combined with ongoing disinformation campaigns, these weaknesses could have cumulative effects on Russian operational effectiveness and public confidence. Russia's efforts toward digital sovereignty are ongoing, with Astra Linux dominating domestic software, but hardware and industrial capacity lagging. New state enterprises are planned with significant subsidies, reflecting Moscow's awareness of its limitations amid sanctions. These challenges underline the difficulties Russia faces in maintaining self-sufficiency, particularly in high-tech and defense sectors. Globally, Russia is projecting influence beyond Europe. Support for Cuba amid U.S. pressure and ongoing competition over strategic corridors in Eurasia shows Moscow's intent to maintain regional influence despite operational and economic pressures. Meanwhile, Turkey's growing engagement in Central Asia and shifts in Eurasian alignments highlight that strategic landscapes are evolving even beyond the immediate battlefield. Analysts are watching these developments closely as they may reshape power balances over the medium term. Moscow is leaning heavily on Beijing for economic and energy support. Ukraine's precision strikes continue to strain Russian logistics and energy. NATO and allies maintain high readiness against airspace incursions. Internal political dynamics and environmental pressures challenge Moscow, and shifts in Central Asia signal potential long-term realignments. These developments are not isolated. They interconnect across diplomacy, economics, and military strategy. Thanks for listening. If this was useful, a quick review or comment helps others find the show. For deeper coverage, check out our daily intel brief on Substack at restrictedhandling.substack.com. Have a great day.